My name is Anna, and 6 months after my husband's funeral, my family decided my grief was an inconvenience they could weaponize. They promised me a healing weekend at a mountain spa. Instead, my brother, Mark, pushed his 2 young children into my arms at the resort entrance. "We're heading to Zurich for a business trip," he said with a breezy smile. "You've got this. It will be good for you to have a purpose." My mother kissed my cheek, her touch cold. "We'll send you money for food," she whispered, as if that was a fair trade for my soul. Then they were gone, leaving me with 2 confused toddlers, a suitcase full of clothes I wouldn't wear, and the smoldering ruins of my trust. They saw a broken widow, a convenient, free babysitter. They didn't see the woman my late husband had built. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I knelt, hugged my niece and nephew, and promised them we would have our own adventure. Then I pulled out my phone and made a call they never imagined I would make. I called the children's mother, Sophie, the woman my brother had destroyed in a vicious divorce, painting her as an unstable addict to gain full custody. Mark had told everyone Sophie had abandoned her children. The truth was, he had used his money and power to break her, forcing her into a rehab facility for a minor pill dependency after a car accident, then using her absence to claim she was an unfit mother. She had been fighting him in court for 2 years with no money and no one to believe her. But I believed her. I had been investigating my brother for months. My husband, a brilliant forensic accountant, had taught me everything he knew. Before he died, he'd had suspicions about Mark's finances. After his death, my grief sharpened my focus. I started digging, quietly, methodically, and what I found was a web of deceit that went far beyond his divorce. He was embezzling from his own company, hiding assets in offshore accounts, and living a lavish life funded by fraud. The Zurich trip wasn't for business. It was a vacation paid for with stolen money. Abandoning his children with me wasn't just cruel. It was a fatal miscalculation. It gave me the final piece of evidence I needed: willful child endangerment. I met Sophie at a quiet diner an hour later. When she saw her children, she collapsed into a booth, sobbing with a grief I knew all too well. While she held them, I laid out a folder on the table. "This is everything," I said. "Bank statements, offshore account numbers, evidence of his fraud. He didn't just lie about you, Sophie. He's a criminal." For the first time in 2 years, a flicker of fire returned to her eyes. We weren't two broken women anymore. We were a team. She had the story. I had the proof. While they were sipping champagne over the Swiss Alps, we were drafting affidavits. While they posted selfies, we were documenting years of lies. The first panicked text from my brother arrived that evening. "Hey, how are the kids?" I replied with a single photo, Sophie tucking her children into bed. His immediate response was a string of angry question marks. Then his tone shifted. "This is not funny, Anna. You have no right." I sent him back a screenshot of one of his offshore bank statements. The silence that followed was more satisfying than any screaming match. He knew, in that instant, that the game was over. He had underestimated me. He had seen me as a fragile object of pity. He forgot that grief can forge a woman into a weapon of cold, hard, and beautifully documented fact. My mother called next, her voice a storm of fake concern and real fury. "Anna, what have you done? You're going to destroy this family." I looked at a picture of my late husband on my phone's lock screen. "You already did," I said, and hung up. The word family had become a shield they used to hide their cruelty, and I was done holding it for them. Sophie's lawyer, a woman who had been working her case pro bono, nearly wept with joy when we presented her with my file. "This changes everything," she said. "We're no longer fighting for visitation. We're fighting for full custody, and we are going to win." She filed an emergency motion the next morning. The motion included evidence of Mark's financial crimes, character affidavits testifying to Sophie's stability, and a detailed account of the abandonment at the spa, signed and notarized by me. It was a legal bombshell, and it detonated perfectly. A judge issued a temporary order granting Sophie full, immediate custody of her children. Mark and my mother were still in Zurich when the order was served to his lawyer. They returned to a world that had been entirely rearranged. Mark was barred from seeing his children without supervision. Worse, my evidence had triggered a federal investigation into his company's finances. His assets were frozen. His world was on fire. He tried to come to my apartment. I didn't answer the door. He screamed through the intercom that I was a vindictive, crazy woman. I simply recorded his tirade and forwarded it to Sophie's lawyer as further evidence of his instability. He had taught me the value of documentation after all. My mother tried a different tactic. She appealed to my grief, showing up with flowers and talking about how my late husband would have wanted peace. He would have wanted justice. I corrected her. He taught me how to find it. You should be thanking him for this lesson. She left, finally understanding that the daughter she thought was broken had been reborn. The legal battle was short and brutal. My evidence was undeniable. Mark's character was indefensible. In court, he looked small and deflated, a cheap suit of a man stripped of his power. The judge awarded Sophie full and permanent custody. Mark was granted bi-weekly supervised visits, pending the outcome of his federal case. After the hearing, Sophie and I went for a walk in the park. The kids ran ahead, their laughter echoing in the autumn air. "I don't know how to thank you," she said, her eyes filled with tears. "You don't have to," I replied. He used my grief, and I used my skills. We just held up a mirror and forced him to look. The revenge wasn't just in his downfall, it was in Sophie's rise. She got her life back. She got her children back. She started a support group for women who had been victimized by custody battles, using her experience to help others navigate the treacherous legal system. She turned her pain into a shield for others. And me? I found my purpose in the quiet, methodical work my husband had loved. I opened a small forensic accounting firm specializing in helping victims of financial abuse. I took the skills born from my personal tragedy and used them to bring justice to others. I was no longer just a widow, I was an advocate. My family name is no longer associated with old money and social prestige. It is now tied to a national fraud investigation. My brother is likely facing prison time. My mother sold her home to pay his legal fees. Their carefully constructed world has been reduced to ashes. I rarely speak to them. There is nothing left to say. They still don't understand that their crime wasn't just abandoning me with 2 small children. Their crime was seeing my deepest pain as an opportunity for a vacation. It was a level of selfishness so profound it defied explanation. Sometimes, when I am working late, I look at the picture of my husband on my desk. I tell him about the cases I'm working on, the people I'm helping. I tell him how the skills he taught me have become my armor and my sword. And I know, with a certainty that settles deep in my soul, that he would be proud. My revenge was not loud. It was a quiet, meticulous dismantling of a corrupt system, starting with my own family. They thought my grief had made me weak. They were wrong. My grief was a crucible, and it forged me into the woman I am today. Unapologetic, focused, and free. Have you ever found unexpected strength in your moment of deepest sorrow? A time when your pain became your power? Share your story in the comments below. And if you believe that the most effective revenge is a life rebuilt with purpose and justice, subscribe to Revenge with Any.